So a while ago I did a video about some of the creepy moments from the Tony Hawk series, and thought I'd do a follow-up one because it was a well received video for what it's worth. Now this one's going to be more community oriented than my own personal experiences, because I had quite a few comments off people saying what they found to be scary or creepy across the series, and I also did some searching across forums and Reddit and whatever to find what other people found creepy. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, and the one that most people pointed out that I missed, Suburbia from Pro Skater 3. Because for what it's worth, Suburbia is a relatively uninteresting level at a glance. After all, as implied by its name, it's a suburban cul-de-sac. We have some houses, some construction underway, these guys having a barbecue, but Suburbia actually holds the creepiest moment out the entirety of Pro Skater 3. Because there's this weird, creepy, haunted house, which at first you might just think might be for show. And you'll soon learn that there's more to this house than meets the eye. Because one of the goals in Pro Skater 3 is to help the thin man by finding his key, and this man alone is off-putting for a variety of reasons. Not only is he freakishly tall, but also hostile because he'll punch you clean off your board if you go into him. And while the builders also do this in the level, I feel like this man's a bit more malicious than the builders, who are probably annoyed that some punk is interrupting their worksite. The thin man's story also doesn't add up. He's somehow locked out of his house, yet the door's opening by itself, with some very unwelcoming glowing eyes, which already creeps a lot of people out. But if you decide to jump in the door when it's open, this will happen. Now this part alone creeped out a lot of people back then, because this is the only moment in the entirety of Pro Skater 3 where anything like this happens. It's surprisingly weird and out of character. But that's not all, because once you get the thin man's key, he seemingly goes back to hell, and now you can skate inside his house.
Home improvement time!
And upon entering the yard, you're met with a very loud thunderclap and the hands of the dead coming out from the graves. And you're forced to come here if you're trying to get every single gold as well, because the secret tape is located here. You're forced to go into the attic, where again you get bombarded with flashes and thunderclaps, then everything goes back to normal. As said, it's such a very strange area, and arguably what most people tend to remember about Suburbia to begin with. And also, is it me or does the sky go slightly grey when you enter this place? Why Neversoft went so hard into making this one particular house in Suburbia the creepiest moment in the entire game is beyond me. If it was designed to make Suburbia memorable, they did a really good job of that. But arguably this could be where Neversoft really loved the idea of putting weird, creepy stuff in inconspicuous levels to begin with. Now I'm not actually sure what to call this glitch, so I'm just going to call it the dead glitch. But in Pro Skater 2 there is a glitch where your character just dies, as in they won't ever get back up again after a bail. In some cases you may slide around, but ultimately you are going to stop moving and you're never going to get back up again. We do have a video clip of this where after a bail, the player loses control of Tony, who just slides around a little bit before coming to a stop. Now some other users have claimed similar glitches in this game only. Nothing for Pro Skater 1 or Pro Skater 3, but only Pro Skater 2. Where one guy claims that he was playing the Nintendo 64 version, and after bailing head first, this glitch happened to him, but the head was constantly twitching. Similar to the video just played, the character never got up, just sliding around with the head twitching in a really creepy manner. And there's another user who remembers playing Pro Skater 2 with their dad one day. He was playing as Chad Musker, only for him to bail and suddenly die. Musker never got up again. Now interestingly, both this guy and the video above were on School 2, so maybe it could be a rare glitch exclusive to that level, who knows. Either way, it's a damn creepy glitch that would have freaked me out if ever I encountered it. Again we travel to Carnival from Pro Skater 4, and instead of getting scared by the horror house, we're going across the map to this muddy dump. So what's creepy about this? It's just mud. Well, as soon as you hop over here, an alligator spawns out of nowhere and begins to chase you, and there's no indication anything is here until you hop over here. Then the alligator will suddenly appear from the side and chase you until you leave the muddy area. And in fact, there's a high chance you'll be going so fast you won't even notice the alligator is chasing you until you return to the area, where you might get quickly startled because this will happen. I'd say it's more of a quick startle than anything downright scary, but still. It made a lot of people cautious about going anywhere near this place. So it is very fair to say that the Pro Skater series, especially Pro Skater 4 to Underground 2, had some of the greatest customization of its time, and arguably holds up really well even today. when it comes to creating your own skater, of course. I would say it is on par with Saints Row for the customization freedom you have, because you have near unlimited options to mess around with. But in Underground 1 there was a rather weird option that did catch some people off guard, because in Underground 1, when customizing your character's head, you can have them flat out beheaded. I'm not talking about just a missing head, but I mean you can even see where your character's head was cut off from, because you can kind of see down the neck. At least we still have eyeballs at the very least. And I can see how this did weird people out back in the day. It is shockingly gory for a pro skater game. Well, excluding the Neversoft intros of course, combined with the fact that for the time these graphics were seen as realistic. So I'm pretty sure this is the most graphic the series ever got, because we got flat out decapitated bodies. People were complaining that Vice City and GTA 3 were graphic, but I would say this is more graphic than those two games combined. Quite a few people never even saw this option because it's buried at the very bottom of the head options. The majority of people went for either black or white heads and just left it at that. I think the shock factor of this does kind of actually wear off a little bit when you're playing the game itself, considering nobody gives a fuck that some headless corpse is just going about their day like nothing's wrong. It kind of makes it morbidly funny, I find. Plus I feel like the eyeballs give it a kind of goofy look. It's kind of like slapping googly eyes on a monster that makes them look like a joke. One of the recurring characters from the Pro Skater series is Officer Dick. He's a police officer who hates skateboarders. He appeared across the first 3 games and then he just disappeared until Project 8, where upon his return he's now a zombie. Now even though I was a fan of zombies, Officer Dick in Project 8 was always weird to me, because I think this has got to be one of the very few actual implications of murder in the series, mostly because of the sign that he's impaled with. That kind of thing just doesn't imply it's an accident. Even the concept artist alludes to the fact he was murdered with a description, where he says security guard and police officer who's been taken care of by unruly skaters. That's a pretty dark implication for the series, to be honest. Many tend to agree that Tony Hawk's Underground 2 is probably the most outlandish game out of the entire series. Somehow it manages to take itself less seriously than anything else in the series, which already doesn't take itself seriously at all. In this game we've got the Jackass crew joining us, Phil Margera in his underwear, we play as disabled kids in wheelchairs and Australian Aboriginals in go-karts, and we also get to see Eric Sparrow get his face crushed by Beaverhausen's fat arse. But one thing that did seem to weird out a lot of people was the ending. Because for what it's worth it is comedic. Beaverhausen gets pantsed and screwed over, you and Tony's team win, the end, credits roll, we unlock Shrek, and after the credits you see the loading screen for a level called Pro Skater. And while it's loading you probably think to yourself, what is Pro Skater? Is it something from the classic mode or what? Then it loads and you kind of just put on this alien ship. Instead of the punk rock music that you're used to from the game, it's playing some really dark ambient kind of stuff, and it does a really good job at making you feel like you've been abducted. You skate around and all you see are aliens, no sign of human life, and trying to talk to them has them speaking gibberish. I feel like the level really did bait and switch you with the level name, because one thing I remember of when I played Underground 2 for the first time was thinking that Pro Skater was going to be something from the previous Pro Skater games. So when the game first released, and I'm talking about the first couple of weeks, it did actually confuse some people. Some people thought there was more to the story perhaps, because it starts straight after the main story. And other bonus levels like Hotter Than Hell and Thug 1 didn't do this. And also the weirdness of this level isn't that out of character for Underground 2. After all, we rode zombies in New Orleans for example. Now even though this level doesn't add anything to the main story, it turns out there is more to the level than meets the eye, because you can escape this level by slapping 2 buttons which open a portal to this Mayan temple-like area, and you even get told by the Mayans about angering their monkey god, whom after defacing his statue, flat out sends you to hell. And then for the final part of the level we arrive in hell, and the game's soundtrack kicks in again, which to me does take away a lot of the creepiness the alien ship and the temple had, but not to say there isn't anything creepy around here. Because in this area specifically, there's this one area that creeped me out the most. On the one side you have the hands of the damned coming out from their cells. On the other hand, yeah, you see this. Again, in 2020s this looks pathetic, but back in 2004-2005 on a CRT, yeah, that was quite startling for what it's worth. So I did a video on this a while back where I went over gaming glitches and why I think they can be quite weird and creepy in some cases. And while this may not be Tony Hawk specific, there was actually a moment I had when I was playing American Wasteland on the original Xbox, where when I was going from Oil Rig to Santa Monica, the game just died on me while I was travelling through the pipe, because the entire level never loaded except for the skybox. The soundtrack suddenly went on a 2-second loop, and I remember it creeped me out because I was just thrown into complete nothingness, and the entire game went from this laid back skateboarding adventure to me watching the game break in real time. I also got a comment on my previous video about creepy Tony Hawk moments, where they said the exact same thing also happened to them on Xbox, also going from Oil Rig to Santa Monica, so maybe that might be an Xbox glitch, I don't know. I also had another comment from another user saying something similar happened to them on what I assume has to be the Nintendo 64 version, where the cartridge was tilted and the game started shaking and repeating the same 2-second loop of the song. As I said in my Gaming Errors video, it is creepy when this stuff happens because it does catch you off guard. Unlike actual creepy moments where you can prepare yourself or avoid it, in the case of a gaming glitch like that, I'd say it's rare but also unavoidable if you're on old or dying hardware. Like, unless you're actively screwing around with mods, you're not going to encounter this kind of stuff on a brand new PC build. You're not going to encounter this on a brand new PS5. But if you've been using the same hard drive or same PS2 or the same Tony Hawk disc for about 15-20 years, it's going to happen. And I think that's what makes it so creepy, because it will catch you off guard when you least expect it. But that is it for today's video, and I'm pretty sure that's every single moment at the Tony Hawk series that most people deem to be creepy or off-putting. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.